tool to make them God. I say to you today, those of you who have no jobs, those of you who are prostituting your bodies, those of you who are selling drugs, those of you who are having broken homes because there's no unity there, there seems to be a lack of love. It is only because you have been deceived. You have been deceived into thinking that in God we trust is truly God. You have been deceived in believing that the elitists, those who have billions of dollars, those who have set up a system of government and society whereby money is the answer to everything, who amasses it by the billions and the multi-billions, who are doing it to you every day, who are taking your jobs, who are leaving you out here seemingly helpless. Those are the ones, ladies and gentlemen, that are representatives of a force that must be contained. And I say to you that I'm not one who's just speaking. I've been here for quite some time, and I have tried to bring this message to you, but as those slaves who have been indoctrinated, they don't want to hear it. The most recent evidence of that on a national scale was when Barack Obama ran for president of the United States, a black man. This black man was the first one that seemed to have had momentum. But that momentum came from the slave master, the white man. And it was only when the white man gave an indication that this black man was okay. And they only gave an indication that this black man was okay when they knew that this black man was not going to do anything for the black people. This black man was not going to do anything for the poor whites. This black man was going to represent the elitists. You and I both know, we have seen the Republicans, we have seen Democrats, and they have never done anything. And our hope was in this black man, only to find out now that our hope has been squashed. Now we have the same black man trying to get back into office again. We have Republicans saying, let's go back to when our nation was great. I don't know what time that was, but I can tell you this. There's never been a point in the history of America since I've been here that I want to go back to. No, I'm looking forward. I'm looking forward to a time when our cities are clean, when there are no prejudices within our people, when our homes are decorated the way we want them to, when our transportation systems work, and they work well, and we're satisfied with our abilities to go from here to there. I'm looking for a time when we are not living in poverty, when there are no ghettos, when there are no bums on the street. I'm looking for a time when we can get together and fellowship about the love of God, not someone trying to tell us that the system is okay, not someone who's getting masses of wealth themselves, highlighting the system before blind people. I'm looking for a time when freedom comes to us. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to reiterate that freedom does not come without. That freedom comes within. So I say to you, search inside yourselves. Search inside yourselves. White people, understand that your hateness that you have for blacks is a seed that was planted to your forefathers, through your forefathers. That what they did, it is still continuing. There might be a new strategy, but the poverty that existed then exists today. And what caused it to exist then is the same thing that causes it to exist today. We haven't escaped. Those of you who are descendants of slaves who were brainwashed and broken, I want you to know today that the poverty, the crime and violence that you have perpetrated on you each and every day, it comes because you have not been delivered. You have not been delivered. We are the slaves of yesterday. And those who are benefiting are the slave masters of yesterday. And there is going to be only one thing that can change your mind. And that is the realization that man is not God. That man was made and not created by himself. And until you can digest and accept that with speak of freedom to a slave society. And a slave society rejects freedom because he knows no freedom. And when someone speaks about the freedom, he does not understand the prerequisites. And they are, ladies and gentlemen, that it is one God, and that God is unseen, but that God will be manifested in the hearts of men. And where that God has peace in the hearts of men, you will see the hands of God. You will hear from the mouth of God. You will see from the eyes of God. And that which I bring to you today will be evident in your lives. Now, I know that even though I'm giving you this message, for those of you who have heard it, many of you will flip the channel. You don't want to hear it. Many of you will laugh. Instead of taking this message, trying to get it around the nation so that people can at least hear it, so they can have at least another thought, you will turn it off. And when the election comes around, though I'm running as a write-in in every state, you will not go and to oppose and write my name in. In fact, you have so many people out here giving money to what I have decided are those who are distracted from God. And they are taking that money and feeding it in such a way that the slaves can't resist. And so at the end of the day, you will have a return of the Democrat, or you will have a new Republican. But the life that you live today will not change. It will be the same. Some of you may have a little relief, and others will have a greater burden. But the life that you live today will be the same. And like a slave, you don't realize that the power to make that change is in you. Yes, I know your legs may be spread apart. I know that you may be tarred and feathered. I know that horses may be at the end of your legs and pull you straight apart. And I tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that as you look at that, that hurts. But one who has gone to prison trying to get your attention, I tell you today that the God that I speak of today will not leave you alone. I have to tell you, many people say when Jesus was on the cross, he suffered. But Jesus' suffering was from the reality that the people had resisted the love of God. But there was no suffering that was unbearable for Jesus. Every pain that came to him on that cross was a glory to God. And I tell you, he would not exchange it for anything except you changing your minds and deciding that God would be your God. I tell you from my own personal experience that every situation that I found myself in, that others would call persecution and shameful, and they